Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Know Your Faith series. I am Collins, and today we'll be picking up from our previous episode. On the previous episode of Know Your Faith series, we talked about addictions and how to handle them. We talked about sexual addiction in the previous episode, and on today's episode, we'll be talking about substance addiction. Well, before we go forward, it's important that we know that there is a difference between substance abuse and addiction. The abuse is the illegal use of substance, while the addiction is the continuous use without control. And on today's episode, I'll be sharing with you tips on how to handle this addiction. So the first, like I said in the previous episode really, is to actually admit that there is a problem. Because if you can't admit that, then you've not really gotten anywhere. You need to admit that there is a problem and that you need to fix it. Number two is be accountable to someone. It really helps when you join a group, people who have been through similar situations, maybe whatever it is, drug addicts, alcohol addicts, people who have gone through that phase and somehow have come out very, very fine. It helps when you share your story and they are able to relate. Another is to actually exercise. Now, this is particular for substance abuse because it helps a lot. It gives you that physical strength. In a way, is a way to put it. It gives you certain things that you can do physically, rather than it's always comes from a point of you feeling down or some sort of depression. So exercise and physical workouts really helps out a lot. Another point is to break the habit. There are always triggers to addictions. So it's one thing for you to be able to identify the triggers and then try as much as possible to break them or stay away from them. Another point is to try cognitive behavioral therapy. It's like I said, it's when you're able to identify the triggers, or maybe if you realize that you turn to alcohol when your club loses, maybe something that puts you into depression, then you have to try as much as possible not to watch the match anymore. It might be hard, but it's something that you have to try as much as possible to do. You try to control your own behavior. And finally, try as much as possible to discover a new hobby. Something that keeps you going, something that you actually love, and that you can always turn to when the cravings come or the temptations. Try and find something that you really love and that can, for example, if you actually love watching football, but you know that when you do this you get depressed, why don't you try playing instead? It might not give you exactly the same thing, but you have something really, really close. So getting a hobby really helps a lot. And finally, I think this is something that you actually need to do. Probably just sit down and write down the harmful effects that this substance has on you. Whether it's, just write it down. You'd be amazed to get to a point where you realize that it's really hurting you and you just have to stop. So every time you feel like you want to go back, look at the paper again and check yourself. If you realize that you don't want to have kidney failure or liver, whatever it is, you have to stop. And this is something that really helps. It pushes you a long way, and it really helps you to reduce or help you handle this addiction. So that's it for today, guys. On the 2 episodes, I hope that you've been able to get tips on how to handle addictions. I'm not telling you they'll be very easy, but it's something that can really help you if you put in the effort. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share this content to as many people as you can. And until I come your way next time, be bold and be Catholic.